John Sopko is with us. He is the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction. You have your own acronym, SIGAR, here in Washington. Okay, so let's just begin with this command headquarters in Afghanistan. How did it begin? Who authorized this?
Well, apparently, and we just opened up the investigation in February of 2010, late 2009, early 2010. The Army put a request in to build a command structure at Camp Leatherneck in southern Afghanistan. Within months, a decision was made that the Army wasn't going to be in Camp Leatherneck. The Marines were going to be there. The Marine general took a look at the plans, said, "I don't want it, I don't need it, I won't use it, stop it." So he said that in May.
What year again? Remind
May
us.
of 2010.
Okay.
And then the process just continues, and that's what we find out. Once you appropriate money, it gets spent. So even though he didn't want it as early as 2010, they let the contract in 2011, it gets spent. So even though he didn't want it as early as 2010, they let the contract in 2011, and they started building it. And what we eventually have now, it was turned over to the military commander now, a building that's almost totally complete, costs $35 million, and nobody wants it.
Well, and we were just showing our viewers some pictures of it. 64,000 square feet.
That's a big building.
$34 million, accommodates 1,200 to 1,500 staff, and includes a war room, a briefing theater, and senior military official offices.
That's correct.
So they went ahead and built it. Well, why couldn't the Navy just use it? I mean, they said, well, we don't want it, but why not?
They don't need it. The commander didn't need it. The Marine Corps captain had his own, or excuse me, Marine Corps commander had his own headquarters, didn't want it. It's a rather luxurious Taj Mahal, and he didn't want it. So before the first shovel went into the ground, the Marine Corps commander who was running the mission down there said, "I don't want it. Don't build it."
So is there already a command headquarters for the Navy close by?
For the Marine Corps, yes, and it's not as well made as this one. The Marines are pretty good at dealing with plywood and sandbags. They're very happy with that, and it serves its purpose.
So who said we're going to ignore the Navy and go ahead and build it?
We don't know. That's what our investigation is all about. We're going to try to find out who the individual was who ignored the Marine Corps General and continued with the construction. So,
what is Congress saying about this?
Well, we've gotten a number of letters and comments from Congress, but expressing outrage, but I haven't had any direct communications with anybody. I'm hoping that Senator McCaskill's staff has contacted about this. She's having a hearing tomorrow, and I think this may be one of the topics of discussion at tomorrow's hearing.
What is the executive branch saying about it? The President, the Pentagon?
They're looking into it. And we haven't spoken to the White House, but we've spoken to the Pentagon, and they're still investigating it.
And they're doing their own separate investigation?
They're doing their own separate investigation, but we're going to do ours and make certain that we get to the bottom of this.
When will you be putting out your findings?
It'll be a number of months. We're still starting it. I just happened to see it back in June when I traveled the last time to Afghanistan. My staff was aware of it a few months before, so we've just started the investigation.
So what was its original purpose?
Its original purpose, as far as we can tell, was going to be a command headquarters for a Army division. And apparently it was going to be a joint command headquarters. That's what the initial information is. Because if you actually go in and see the computer room, they did a separate computer room for U.S. computers versus British computers. So we think it may have been a joint operation. But that quickly changed, and it's just left there now to sit.
Well, which company built it?
I believe the company was a British company. We have no complaints about that. It's the best constructed building I have seen in Afghanistan.
Why do you say that? Because you've traveled in Afghanistan.
Well, we travel a lot, and we find a lot of buildings that are falling down, buildings that electrocute students, buildings where the roofs fall down. We just announced 2 alert letters. We usually find a lot of shoddy construction. Horrible construction. Actually, on that base right now, we're looking at some other sites of poor construction. But this one was perfect. I mean, almost perfect. The irony is that just a few months ago, the DOD IG went in, different team, took a look at their fire escapes and fire suppression system and recommended they improve them. And the military, even though this building will probably be torn down, spent taxpayers' dollars to improve the fire suppression system on a building that will probably be destroyed.
So will that $34 million price tag go up?
Absolutely.
And how much do you expect it to go up?
Well, if for the fire suppression, I think it's just a couple $100,000. I say a couple $100,000, and compared to 34 million or the billions we've seen wasted, it's small. But still, it's just one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing.
Why do you say that this building you think will be torn down?
Well, those are the options we have been given. Those are the options being considered. Because, first of all, the military doesn't need it. With the drawdown in Leatherneck, which is the base where it's located, this building will be on the other side of the fence. This building will no longer be in Camp Leatherneck. As we draw down our soldiers there, the base is going to get smaller, it's shrinking. This building will be left on the other side. So it's a security risk for U.S. to use it. The three options, and they're all bad. One is just to tear it down because the military doesn't need it. Security risk for U.S. to use it. The three options, and they're all bad. One is just to tear it down because the military doesn't need it. And it costs money to keep it going. I mean, its heating and air conditioning is going constantly right now, and there's nobody in it. The other option is to turn it over to the Afghans. Well, that may be good, but no one's talked to the Afghans, and that's one of the problems we see throughout. We don't talk to the Afghans. We don't know if they want it or need it. So, and then the big problem with that is this was built to U.S. standards, and the Afghans may not be able to maintain it or sustain it.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to voltage and that sort of thing.
There are a whole bunch of things like that. And they even have problems now. We just heard, and it's interesting, since we sent the letter, we've heard more allegations, but we got some information that came to us that even the U.S. military may have problems maintaining this because you need some special technical capabilities that they don't have on the base anymore. Now, the third option, which is almost...
a contractor for that?
They do a lot of that, they will. The third option is they actually were thinking of turning the war room, which was supposed to be a classified room in which they do planning for the war. They were going to turn the war room into a theater.
For what?
For movies. So maybe they'd be showing Catch-22, which I think would be an appropriate movie there, or maybe Dr. Strangelove. But that was the idea. We'll turn it into a war room and then a rec room down in the bottom. Now, a 64,000 square foot rec room and theater. And then it turns out there are not enough Marines, not enough U.S. personnel there to actually move into the base and use it for that. So that probably is not the option. In all likelihood, the building's going to be ripped down.
Okay, so this is one building that we're talking about here. And as you said, as the camp there in Helmand province gets smaller as we continue to draw down out of Afghanistan, this building in particular would be on the other side, poses a security risk. I'm wondering about the president right now negotiating with Hamid Karzai, the Afghanistan president, and considering a zero option here, that he just withdraws the troops from Afghanistan and does not leave some behind. What impact does that have on our equipment, items that we've built, the type of stuff that you look into?
Well, again, determining the option, whether it's 0, 10,000, 15,000, whatever, is really above my pay grade. That's a decision to be made by the President, the administration, and Congress. But it will have an impact on the buildings and what we've constructed. And we are having close consultation with the Pentagon and with USAID and the State Department, is that you have to consider the drawdown as you build, as you maintain.